I'm going to show you what a whole year's worth of healthy vegan dinner plans look like. Here it is, my life's work since 2017. Look at this. That's a lot of meal plans, and it covers 5 nights a week for every night of the week, and most people will have enough leftovers to cover their weekends or even some lunches. I started the Vegan Family Meal Plans back in 2017, and I created first a whole year's worth of plans. I mean, I was doing them for my family anyway. I had to pick what we were going to have for dinner. I had to create a shopping list. I had to decide what items I would be batch cooking on the weekend so that the weeknights would be easier. And I thought, well, I guess I should share this with other people who need it as well. And even though I didn't have much of an audience at the time, some people did need it and subscribed. And I wrote a whole year's worth of them. After the first year, I thought, well, those were pretty good. I'm just going to tweak them a little bit. And 2018, 2019, 2020 even, I was just updating the plans. Sometimes I would change a recipe because it would be easier. I would rewrite the instructions because I learned something new about nutrition or about cooking that made it easier. And I just kept on making those same plans better and better for those 52 weeks of the year. In the process, I learned that some years have 53 weeks. Who knew? And I had to create a meal plan. And the funny thing about it is I created this plan that's week 53, and it's made for those times when we're not prepared. We haven't done any batch cooking. We don't have much meal planning. We just have like pantry ingredients and kind of basic vegetables. And I've got 12 recipes that I added in that week 53 plan. And then as the years went by, and I was so lucky to benefit from the feedback from hundreds of subscribers, and they were pretty good at spotting typos, or sometimes there would be a bit of a mistake in a grocery list and they would let me know. And little by little, I tweaked and improved the plans, and now we're in February 2024 and I'm done. I don't think they need to be revised anymore. And that's why I was so happy to create this as a single PDF document that meal plan lifetime subscribers can buy in addition to their subscription, so that they can have one file with all the recipes in them. Because previously, if you're like me, because I use the meal plans in my own kitchen every week, but it looks more like this. And it's a bit of a mess, and I print them and I write on them. And I use them as a funnel to refill my spice bottles. I go like this in the spice bottle and I pour my spices and they fall in. But they're pretty messy, so I'm really glad to have that single document that has it all in it. And I want to share today with you 4 lessons that I have learned from this extensive foray into healthy vegan meal planning. Here's what I've learned. The first thing is that, yeah, we like diversity, but to a point. Inevitably, there comes a week in the year where there's that recipe for, Vietnamese-inspired pho style soup. And every year, pretty much, for the first 5 years anyway, my husband would go, "This is really good. We've never had this at home before." And I was like, yeah, we had it last year. But the bottom line is that 260 dinner recipes is enough. You can buy 1 million cookbooks, but chances are you're not even going to use 10% of the recipes in them. So having a collection of recipes you can trust, it doesn't need to be extensive. You don't need to subscribe to my meal plans, but I'm just saying we do like diversity, but only to a point. And even within that, maybe the second lesson I've learned is that it's useful to have a number of set forms or standard recipes. Think of it like standards in jazz music that you can repeat from season to season, only changing the ingredients based on primarily what's seasonal at the farmer's market, seasonal vegetables that are most abundant, also cheaper and more nutritious at certain times of year, but also changing the grains like for like, or changing the grain like for like. And that's where my often repeated idea of there's only 3 recipes you really need in life. There's a way to make soups and stews, there's a way to make stir-fried kinds of things, and there's the roasted things aspect as well. And once you know these forms, make it 4 with salads and bowls. And once you know those different forms, you can mix and match with different seasonal ingredients and repeat them throughout the year. So it's not like you're always eating the same soup, but you're eating the soup standard dish with seasonal ingredients. And even within soup, there's lots of different ways to make it. There's soups that are more chunky, soups that have more like a noodle style, and of course soups that are creamy, and you will want to add texture on the side. That's a conversation for another day. But so we like diversity, but not actually that much. We don't have to know 100 or 260 different recipes. Even within this collection here, my subscribers know, those that have been with me for, let's say, 3 months or more, when they hit stir fry again, there's a stir fry practically every week in here, at least every 2 weeks. They just need to look at the list of ingredients. They don't really need to look at the instructions again, because stir fries are made pretty much always the same way. So if you're rotating the ingredients but keeping the same method, then you can still have a different meal. It feels different, but it doesn't require you to know that many different recipes. Which takes me to my third point, which is that if you pay attention when you're cooking, if you're not just following a recipe like this with your nose on it in the book or on your phone, if you're paying attention to what is going on, you're going to learn a ton about cooking, and you're going to get way better, way faster, and you're going to notice the patterns that are repeated. Cooking, yes, it is complex, but it is not rocket science. It doesn't have to change all the time. We do have a preference actually for things that are familiar, they're more comforting. There's so much in our modern world that's going so fast. It's nice to find some of the same old favorites, or at least recognizable dishes at the table. It doesn't always need to be adventurous. Of course, it's nice to have more adventurous meals, and I make sure to fit at least one of those, sometimes 2 of those in each 2-week meal plan, but not all the time. And once you've learned those general forms, you can just repeat them more easily. It's nice to have something like the meal plans. It's nice to have somebody who's decided for you what it's going to be for dinner. It's nice to have a compiled shopping list, for example. It's nice to have a bit of inspiration to reduce the fields of possibility, because there are endless options in healthy vegan cooking. So it's nice to narrow it down a bit, because we all suffer from decision fatigue. But it's also nice to be able to improvise. And the fourth lesson, which is a little bit out there, you might say, but is summer cooking is way more involved than winter cooking many, many times, because there's all these amazing fresh vegetables that come at the farmer's market, everything that's booming out of the garden that needs to be used. And those are the kinds of vegetables that are usually not keeping for a long time. If you take a typical winter vegetable like squashes, winter squashes, they last a month without a problem on the counter, and they're pretty low maintenance. You just dice it. You don't even need to peel it. Did you know you don't need to peel butternut squash? But so you dice your squash, you pop it in your stew, your chili, whatever it is, and it cooks. It's pretty easy. You don't need to pay much attention. But the summer vegetables, they're a little bit more high maintenance. And often we want to include more of them in the cooking. And I found out that my summer plans, to make them fit in 10 pages, they're more likely to have a slightly smaller font, because it's just harder. Whereas the winter plans, it's often like chop these 5 things and put them in the pot and you're done. It's so much easier. So if you're a beginner in healthy vegan cooking, you might want to lean a little bit more towards stuff that aligns a little more with our idea of winter or fall. Comforting stews, soups, simmered dishes, roasted dishes that don't have as much hands-on work. I find that the advice to start with something like bowls, vegan salads, it's a little bit misguided, because if you don't have super sharp knife skills, for example, you're going to find it quite a bit longer to prepare something like a vegan bowl. So that's my 2 cents of advice regarding healthy vegan meal planning. I have been doing it since 2017, and I feel pretty darn proud about it because it was a lot of work. But you know, I'm still using these meal plans. This is now 2024. I'm still using these plans for my family, myself, every week, and I really enjoy it. And what I enjoy most of all is doing the batch cooking with the members of my cooking club. Every other Sunday, we get together on Zoom to cook. It's even free, like there's no barriers. It's just great to have people who show up for themselves and for others. And we cook, we prepare those building blocks on the weekend. That's the big features of the plan. Always thinking in terms of what can I do in 2 hours on the weekend that will help me have enjoyable dinners throughout the week without as much prep, without chopping, without looking at recipes. Anyway, I love this. I'm super proud, so I wanted to share this crowning achievement for me today. And if you're wanting a little bit of extra help with meal planning, the meal plans are still available for sale, so you can go to veganfamilykitchen.com. Just click on meal plans there and you're going to find out more. But there's a ton of resources, free printables, even free sample plans if you go in the templates and printables section. And I will be delighted to help you because cooking is one of the most important things we can do for our well-being and for spreading love in the world. And I hope that you can find a way to enjoy it. And I hope to see you in the kitchen some other time. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy my content, please remember to subscribe and like this video. And why don't you say hello in the comments to tell me where you're coming from in the kitchen, what your challenges are, and what you'd like to have for dinner. Thank you for being here.